Hi all, good evening. My name is Sidhi Dhir and I serve as the Executive Director for TiE Singapore. Thank you for joining us in the second of the three mental health series with Subba Vaidyanathan. Subba, Subba went on to lead many businesses across Asia. Over 3 decades, he grew businesses, turned them around, started new ones, managed them in time of crisis, all in a high pressure world of financial services. With that background, he then went on to do his own personal practice of yoga, mindfulness, silence, and service, which kept him growing as a leader and also kept him sane and calm. Subha will bring his journey, he brings this journey into his being programs, and that's all he's going to talk about in this journey today, which is about leading in a crisis. Subha is the co-founder and chief program architect of Sattvaa Private Limited. Subha, before I hand over the mic to you, a few housekeeping rules for all the attendees. Please ask your questions in the question and answer button because from that's where we are going to take the questions from to answer. You're free to ask questions anonymously. We won't be sharing the questions with all because we respect your privacy as the topic is sensitive. And we would only ask the questions but not share the questions which have been, which you would type in here. Besides that, we would be sharing the video with everyone post the session. Over to you, Subha.
Thank you very much, Sidhi. I hope you can all hear me clearly. Last week, same time, we spoke about how do we stay functional in these crazy times. Essentially, we are at a time where we make certain very, very critical decisions by ourselves, by our teams, and by our business. And these are sometimes decisions which can make or break organizations or lives. So we are all very sensitive to it as leaders when we're talking to our people, when we're talking to our families, and also about our own lives and our organizations. So last time we spoke about how do we personally stay functional so that we're able to make these right choices in these critical times. Today, and we are going to speak about leading. Leading because I just place a metaphor in front of you. Let's say you're a fire captain on the day of 9/11, and you're running there with your whole team of firefighters into the Twin Towers, which was the Twin Towers. You will have instructions before, you will have a plan before, but most often people out there, once you're out there, may have to make the right choices by themselves. And the fact that they are able to make the right choices on the go is a reflection of the leader, of what the leader has been able to communicate prior, what
Subha, I think the Zoom froze. Can you hear us? Subha, I'll request you to check from your end if you can see it, and let us get this sorted out in a minute. Folks, just bear with us for a minute. We'll just get this sorted. Hi all, I just got off from the phone with Subba. His laptop has frozen. Again, the issues of working from home, and please bear with us. These things are bound to happen. Also, if you hear, your spouse or your kids or any of us, Subba or mine, any background music, so please ignore that as well. So Subha's logging off and logging back in. Till that time, I would request you to share your questions over chat or Q&A. And also, it'll be great to share a few nuggets about what's happening in your life. I'm happy to pick it up right now, and then we'll share it with Subha once he's back, and he could probably focus his discussions on those thoughts. Feel free to use chat or Q&A. He's restarting his machine. It'll take about 3 to 4 minutes. Thanks, Kunal. Yes, patience is the key in these times. Such hiccups happen all the time, and the best part, like Subha's going to share with us, and I had the opportunity to discuss with him early on, is patience and being calm, when you're doing such things. So yeah, it's kind of, we are executing what I learned right now. Yeah, the news right now, yes, I understand. So Kunal saying that I try to keep myself as positive as possible, but with every day and every news information, I keep sinking up and down. Yes, they're trying times, Kunal, but again, the idea is this too shall pass, And I'll again quote one of our speakers in earlier sessions that reinforcements come in the morning for soldiers who survive the night. So, stay on, take every day as it comes, and things would be better after this. Sudhakaran says that anxiety is increasing. Definitely, things are not in the best of way as it should be, ideally in this world. However, the key is to keep yourself calm and continue moving forward with a positive mindset. Like Hiteshwar is saying, that I would like to know some practical and realistic ways to achieve the positive mindset. And brilliant, we'll put that to Subha as well, and he could answer that. The idea is to be positive in this situation, to be in the positive mindset at all times. So as an entrepreneur myself, I would like to share a small nugget here. Yeah, when things go down, I always see the silver lining, and sometimes I get to hear for that Sidhi, how can you even see something positive in this? You need to be realistic. But when crisis situation happens, that is the only probably point in me that keeps me going, because I'm a diehard optimist, and I believe a believer that the morning would come. So that's good to say when you're not in that crisis situation, but when the sky starts to fall, you don't know how to handle it. And that's why Subha's series would be immensely important, in the given times. This time it's on leading during crisis, because you're handling a team who might be going through a lot of anxiety. And next week we would then take charge on independent anxiety. How do you solve the anxiety which you're facing internally? So that would be the next week's session post this one. So Satish says, what can I do to increase the mental well-being and confidence, showing measure as employer, staying virtual and distance from employees in this stage? Good question, Satish, and we'll definitely pick it up in the Q&A. I would want Subha to answer this as well. We've got two in the Q&A box as well. Let me go there. Kunal says, lovely thought. The water in the river is never the same, and this shall pass. Brilliant. I totally agree with you, Kunal. This too shall pass. From the Q&A side, we have Ajay talking about how to tackle fluctuations in mind. Okay, the Q&A part, I would like to keep it anonymous. So I would be taking names. If you want this to be anonymous, please choose the anonymous button. Yeah. So Ajay says how to tackle fluctuations in mind in pandemic. And we've got another question which says the news around outlook and uncertainty is worrying. Leadership is tested. Hope people make the right decision. Definitely. Now, the idea is that as a leader and people are looking up to you, how do you, manage yourself, and how do you lead? And continue to being a source to reckon with for your company? We've got a good turnaround. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in today from all parts of the globe. Any other questions or even advice that you would like to give us, please feel free to share it on the chat. Another question that's come up is, how do you train mind to look for alternatives, or as you said, silver lining in the dark cloud? Abhay says, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Being positive doesn't mean we should not foresee problems coming, but positivity is being prepared well for coming challenges. Very rightly said, Abhay. And that's why to be prepared for challenges, you need to have a very strong and calm mind. And that is, then only can you make hard decisions in life. And that's why series like this is helpful for an entrepreneur. And I believe that everyone's an entrepreneur in their own rights, even if you're working for a corporate, you have to innovate and be an entrepreneur in that company and make decisions which any founder could make. So we are not even restricted to founders or startups only. Anxiety more so happens in corporates as well. And how do you lead a team and how do you come over it is what this session is all about. Another question that has come up is, everyone in your company is looking up to you. What is the best way to keep a brave front? Good one. So one of the questions that's come up is, would you like to adjust the timing for this session? Definitely. We've lost about 5 to 7 minutes here. And I understand that the PM is addressing the nation later on. So we will try to keep it crisp and brief the session and target more on the question and answer round as soon as Subba comes in. I'll be back in a minute. Let me call Subba and see where he is.
I'm here.
Subba, are you there?
I'm back. I'm just trying to, should we just continue without the PowerPoint? I'm just worried it's going to hang again and we don't have much time.
Brilliant, Subba. And also because we've lost some time, we could quickly get on without the share slide. I totally agree with you. Your video is not on though.
Yeah, and I will send you the slides so that you can share it with the entire team.
Definitely, I'll send it with everyone attending.
Sorry about this, people. Very sorry. I just want to, since we have very sharp, I'll keep it like a TED talk, 10 minutes, and then we'll have some time for questions. And first one, I wanted to speak to you about leadership. And in this, I wanted to speak about R, I, C, C, and E. R stands for resolve. I stands for inspire. C stands for courage. C, the second C for communication, and E for empower. I'll speak to you about each one of these. So let's start with resolve. In resolve, primarily, I'm talking about resolving the pressure. What I mean by this is that every single person working for you is under tremendous pressure, whether it's about new ways of working, whether it's about their work, whether it's about their home, whether it's about their family who's somewhere else, maybe in India, whatever else it may be, okay? Or maybe they're insecure about their job or whatever it may be, right? If they're locked down, they're not having their social contact, maybe especially if they're single. I'm working today with someone who has completely broken up. This person is walking around without clothes at home. So resolve the pressure by checking in. First is check in with your people to check whether they are okay and find out what the issues are. Number one. Number two, please set up a buddy system so that there is social help and support available for your people. And third, I would say if you need, you can have counseling help and things like that. But the first two, check in yourself or through your one downs. And second, most importantly, set up the social support by setting up buddies. Resolve. Second is inspire. In these times, we have to inspire ourselves and our people using three very simple things. First is the principles and the values by which we started our business. The reason why we started our business, second. And third, inspiration comes from connecting with the community or the clients that we serve. Example, I'm working with a fintech in Malaysia, and we're getting people to connect back with those small merchants who they serve, those micro merchants which they serve, who currently, some of them are in business and some of them are not in business, but just by that connection, they're able to inspire themselves. So the inspiration and connecting back to the basics and values and why we started what we started and connecting back with our clients is the second thing. Third is courage. And this is something which is very important I wanted to share. Courage can be constructed. Let me talk about fear first, and then let me move that to courage. Every one of us has some fear in the context of everything that is going on. So do all your teams. But first, as a leader, we have to construct the courage for ourselves. For this, I would urge you to follow a 3 simple step formula. First thing, become aware of your fears and humanize them. What I mean by humanize them is give them a name and make them feel like they are someone in the house, someone in the room, just like any other human. Don't demonize your fear. Don't push them away. This is extremely important as a leader because the moment you humanize fear, you no longer are fearful of fear. You're able to, as a second step now, have a dialogue with your own fear to understand what is it that the fear is trying to protect you from. And third, as a function of the first, humanizing the fear and having the dialogue with the fear, you will be able to construct your courage. Your courage is to give yourself the freedom to act and seeking permission from your fear to give yourself space to act. But remember one thing, even if you did not go to the third step, just the first 2 steps will give you so much power and energy that you will be able to lead with courage. Now, leading with courage is very important because your teams are looking to you to be able to have courage. Your teams are looking to you to have that courage. Now, one last thing I wanted to say in the context of courage is that vulnerability is a strength. And in these times, as a leader, we should be able to have a safe space, a friend, or someone with whom we are able to have an open conversation about our fears, because such conversations give us strength and give us courage. So courage as a leader is extremely important to build, because only then we'll be able to move to the next step. And the next step is communication. You have to lead with courage and you have to communicate with authenticity. Most important element of communication is not just the frequency of communication, but it is authentic communication. Authenticity is important because we in today's world cannot predict the future. There are too many moving parts. Right now, the Prime Minister of Singapore is going to speak shortly, and we do not know what he's going to say. There are many things which are happening in the world which we are unable to predict. Who predicted that somebody would pay us to get oil, right? So yesterday oil went negative. No one is able to predict what's going on. But Despite that, with the facts, we can communicate authentically if we have the courage. So, frequency of communication is important, but authenticity of communication is important. And the third element of communication is clarity. All your teams look to you as whether you're clear. It's not whether you're right or you know it all, but whether you're clear in communicating what your point of view is. So you should be able to inspire with courage in your communication, which is done with authenticity and clarity. The last point which I wanted to make is empowering. So the difference between the leading and managing comes very stark in these times. As a leader, we have to make the mind space and the energy space to lead, for which we need to empower our teams. I know empowerment is a very frequently used word, but let me just clarify exactly what I mean by it. Empowering is done by getting people to become part of creating the solution. Empowering is done by getting their inputs into the solution, even if you don't want them to create it. And third, empowering is done by letting them to execute and trusting them in executing what is an agreed solution. So as a function of these three, your team feels that you trust them, and trust in these times is exceedingly important. So let me start all over again. RICCE. Resolve the pressure by checking in and by setting up a construct of a buddy, so that people can communicate socially. Inspire by going back to the values and principles and the reason why you started, and connect back with your clients. Third, courage. Construct courage by humanizing fear and not being fearful of fear itself. Next, communication. Communicate with this courage and this inspiration with clarity and authenticity. And finally, empower your people by either making them part of creating the solution or getting their input into the solution, but most importantly, trusting them in executing on the solution. So if you follow this 5-step methodology, RICCE, you will be a fantastic leader in this crisis. You would have grown tremendously as a leader in this crisis, and you will come out on the other side with your team with a whole bunch of new powers that you, your team, and your organization will have. That's it from me, and I'm open to questions. Sidhi?
Brilliant, Subba. Thank you so much. Brilliant. Subba, one of the questions that were asked, and I also had that query myself, is that if you have some unresolved issues of your own, how do you put up a brave front and lead your team in that way?
I think it's something that even I personally go through, even in this current crisis from time to time. But I do find my daily meditation as a space to calm myself. But I also find people that I can have open conversations with. We don't all have the answers, but if we have the strength to be vulnerable, we will feel a lot stronger after that conversation.
Brilliant. Another question that Ajay Shastri has asked: how do you tackle fluctuations in mind during the current given crisis?
Okay, fluctuations in mind will be there. There will be times when we feel good, and there will be times when we feel bad. Last time I spoke about the formula. We didn't have this opportunity here. I have a 5-step formula for this. At a base level, you can meditate. At the next level, you use your breath. At the next level, use your body and your breath. At the next level, talk to somebody. And at the final level, go do something of what shall I say, a spontaneous act of service or something act of giving. In these ways, the more the stress, the more you serve. The less you stress, use your body, or speak to someone. So this is, I would say, the gradation of how you manage your mind.
Brilliant. Subba, the next question would be that the news around outlook and uncertainty is worrying. Leadership is tested. How can people make the right decision?
Very good. So what we should be able to do as a leader is, with the information that we had in the moment, we stayed right by our principles, by our company, by our teams, and by our people and our clients. That is the benchmark. If you go back and see, with the information I had, did I make the right choice? That is all we need to test against. My values, my clients, my people. That's it.
Kailash Gupta, is a follow-on question to your earlier suggestion. How do you humanize fear?
Okay, since we have a little bit time, let me explain to you. I'll give you the process. So I don't have the time to explain why, but I have a fear of money. Okay, I had some episodes in my younger days due to which I grew up with some fear of money. So that fear is diluted a lot now, but it still does show up. So when that shows up, I give this guy a name. I've given him a name called Greenbag. So I always say, hey, Mr. Greenbag, you've shown back. You come back into my life. Okay, so what's the issue? And what is it this time that I asked you to come and protect me from? So then Greenbag gives me a response. I have a dialogue with him. So he says, I'm here to protect you from doing A, B, C, D silly things. So, and then I have a conversation with him, but that's not what I'm planning to do. So this is where it may sound crazy to you, but I have a dialogue with Mr. Greenbag. Mr. Greenbag is a human being who I invited into my life to protect me. That is what fear is. Fear is someone who's here who we invite into our lives to protect ourselves. Fear is not from the demon. Fear protects us from jumping off the wall or the cliff because we invite that person into our life to protect us. So that's how you humanize fear. Give him a name, give her a name, make them a human, make them a character, welcome them to the table, have coffee or tea with them, have a conversation with them, find out why they're here and what job you gave them. What is the role that you gave them to protect you from? And with that, you will be able to give yourself the permission to change their role, just like you do in a company.
Interesting, Subba. The next question, we are going to take 3 more questions because I see, we are almost done with time. Hiteshwar Singh asks, hard decisions, including layoffs, will need to be taken. How do you maintain a level of trust with your employees in such turbulent times?
I'm sure many of you on this call have had to lay off people even in good times. If you have also had to let people go because maybe they're not right for the job in good times. It's a question of how we do it. Do we do it with empathy? Do we do it with respect? Do we do it in a manner where we are able to build that relationship with them? So whenever I have let go of people in my career, I have made sure that I put in the extra effort to make sure that they are not leaving because they are bad people, but they are leaving because of either the circumstance or the fit for the role with what is available in the context. So I make sure that I give people a call outside in my network to make sure that I'm able to help them on their journey so that they know that I am there for them, to trust them, and it's not anything personal, but it's just something contextual. So that's the way I have dealt with it always, where I try to make this very human, connect with them, and try to disconnect this from being personal.
That's a very good point, Subba, that if the minute you realize that it's nothing personal and it's just transactional and this needs to be done for the betterment of the whole company, then probably the decision becomes easier. The last question for the evening would be, We are predominantly into, Satish Sampath has asked this question. We are predominantly into creative communication space. We work as a team, but I feel that the efficiency for structured or process driven activities is increasing, but the team based creative projects are reducing. I see that my employees feel little scared. They feel alone to take risks in creative space. What can I do to increase the mental well being and confidence? Showing as an employer, especially in the virtual and distance, work from environment that we have in this stage.
I'm not sure you attended the last session, but I do have the session on the 5-step framework for this called SHARE. And in SHARE, there is the A. A is about activity. So 5 steps are story, hangout, activity, and we have routine and exercise. In activity, we talk about exercising our creative side. All activities, whether it's to do with the simplest thing of coloring or creative writing or doing anything, could be like baking, could be cooking, could be something very simple, but it always is using the creative side of us. So even though the organization does not need it at this moment, we come up with, for example, for my team, I have said, I want you to create a collage so that when we come back, we will all put it on the wall and have a conversation about this COVID collage. So I give people an opportunity to make a sketch so that when we come back, we will all put that on the wall together and discuss about what we went through during this time. So in a way, it's a creative activity. It's also getting you to think about what's happening, put it out there, and we go back and have a conversation about it. So if you have a creative team, fantastic. You'll be able to get back together and have a fantastic time discussing all that happened.
Brilliant, Subba. Thank you so much, for your insight. You have another point to say?
I wanted to leave all of you with one fantastic experience I had last week. I run a boutique retreat center in Bali, in addition to running leadership programs and programs around the mind. And I was thinking about what do I do, because I have no revenues in Bali now. So I was busy trying to construct various ways in which I could pay them, what to do. I asked the operations manager which of the solutions which I proposed would work. And he said, none of them. He said, I will create a solution for you myself. They wrote their own salaries and sent it to me. And I can tell you that that is the level of ownership that they had, that they came up with a package which I could not have dreamt of, and it cost me less than what I had planned. So I gave back to them something that I could about how I would reward them when things get better. So that's the kind of trust that you can build with your team. And that's what I meant by empowerment.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Subba, for taking up, this is a very important and painful topic of how do you lead when you're stuck with demons inside you, but you're supposed to be brave in front of and lead a team of your own. So on that, I would love to tell the attendees, thank you so much, and we apologize for the small glitch that we had. But next week, Subba is going to talk about that personal demon of yours, of how do you get hold of the anxiety that's within you and you become a better person in such situations. So please tune in next Tuesday at 4:30 for a session which will be concentrating on your personal anxiety. Along with that, Subba so one of the questions was, do you run sessions and courses in Singapore? Subba definitely does. And I've put in one of the links in the chat mode also. It's called Share. It's in April 25th. And I've put in the link to register on the chat. Plus, we have the huddle sessions tomorrow at 5 p.m. And the topic is, how do you create a sticky consumer business? So please log in. If you haven't registered, please do so. On tomorrow at 5 p.m. for that session. With that, Subba, I look forward to seeing you next week now with all attendees to help us more. Thank you so much.
I wanted to leave everyone with a thought that I do a meditation session at 9 p.m. Singapore time every single day. And my commitment was to do it for 100 days. We are on day 34 today. So wow. If anyone wants, you can reach out to Sidhi and she can give you the links and the contacts for that. Every single day, we meditate for 20 minutes. So that's finding calm in chaos. And I'm happy to run programs for you and your teams. If you want me to bring share to your teams, I'm happy to come and do this for you as a support to your organization. No, I don't charge for it. Okay.
Brilliant. We'll Harish, the link for the meditation, we'll share it in our feedback form that we'll be sending it to you. We'll share the link with you there. Thank you so much again, Subba. Thank you everyone who was with us.
Thanks. Stay lovely. Stay courageous, people. Thank you.